Sandy Danto. How we doing, buddy?
Hey man, I'm pretty good. How are you?
I was injured, but welcome to Obstreperous Eccentric, comics only, episode 2.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You got a shirt? Show them
I-
the shirt you got.
I got two.
You got two. One for,
I'm wearing shirts for two now.
yeah, right? One for you and one for the mama.
You got it. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. So you're daddy now.
I'm a daddy now. I got a 6-week-old girl at home.
What's your name?
Shiloh B. Danto.
Shiloh B. Shiloh, is that like from a Civil War?
No, it's a name my wife liked. It's a Hebrew name.
It's also from the Civil War, I think.
Sure, yeah.
There's a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah?
She's actually for states' rights. That's why we named her Shiloh.
Okay.
She is
Good.
pro-slavery, which is fucked up, but you know.
Hey!
She's young. She'll grow out of it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because, you're her slave, right?
Technically, me and my wife are her slave.
Right?
We are her slaves, yeah. Babies are the original slave owners.
They are.
And babies are the original, they're the original celebrities.
He's going to come back in. He's going to ask for the keys because his bike's lighted up. That's what's going to be funny. And he has to go home. Guess how old he is?
42.
19.
Okay.
First job he's ever had.
Oh, cool.
Being my IHSS provider.
What is IHSS provider?
In-home support services.
What's that mean?
It means that, I'm a disabled veteran. I get SSI. I started in January getting it. And,
Congratulations.
well, it took 13 years. It was traumatic, a lot of it, and pain in the ass. But, so what Reese does is Reese assists.
Did you fight in a war?
Well, it just in my mind.
Yeah, but you served.
Uh-huh.
What?
Army.
Cool.
U.S. Army. 91
Thank
out.
you for doing that.
Not a problem, bro. Anything for you and yours.
Thank you. I could never do that.
It wasn't easy. 2 years, 1 month, and 8 days is what I served. It was difficult.
What years?
87 to 89.
Wow. You got it right out before
The
Desert
first
Storm.
Gulf War, But hell, the first Gulf War was like, in fact, like 3 or 4 people that were in with me got called back. Right?
That's a callback you don't want to get.
Yeah, they got called
like
back.
in L.A., you get a callback, you're psyched about it.
Hell yeah.
You're in the armed forces, you get a callback, you might want to skip the country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They definitely probably did. It was a lot of, you know what's wild about it, Sandy, is I look back on it, and it prepped me for the current state of affairs that we are in this country, with the identity politics and the, racism and
all the crazy divisiveness.
the divisiveness. It because they hated me. Most of my NCOs were black.
What's an NCO?
Non-commissioned officer.
Okay.
Like the E5, which is a sergeant.
Like your
staff
superiors.
sergeant, platoon sergeant. It goes E5 is a sergeant, E6 staff sergeant, then platoon sergeant, then master sergeant, which is an E8, and then E9 is a sergeant major. The E8 has.
Was there an E40, like the rapper?
Oh, an E40? No, not at all. E9 is the top echelon non-commissioned officer. You're the big dog. For the non-commissioned officers, And then of course there's all the officers.
Yeah.
So no, even though you served 30 years and are an E9, you're still below a butter bar, which is a second lieutenant.
Interesting.
Yeah. Difficult.
It's amazing to me the people that make a career out of being in the armed forces.
Me too. I
It's
never understood.
not, like you hear that, you're just like, oh, they fight in wars, but there are people who are in the armed forces that do any just regular job that any person in society does. They're just doing it under the auspices
auspices
of the armed forces.
Being a lean, mean fighting machine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Being a killer.
But then there are people
Sort of like you as a comic. You're a killer.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But I don't think the Navy needs a comic in their ranks. That's why they do USO shows, But like, there are IT guys that are in the military, but they don't have to fight. They're just, doing IT. Or like there are doctors, nurses.
Everybody fights.
Really?
If necessary. That's the thing you got to remember is that you're all trained to fight. Sort of like a dentist is trained to be a doctor and then specializes in dentistry. You still have to go to medical school, pass the basic medical stuff, right?
So
you
like
still
the
have to go.
accountant for the Marines can fucking kill you
Well, I mean, it depends which account
with
you're talking
something
about.
other than kindness.
They used to do. It used to be everything was a military job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they did slowly develop it more into the rear echelon kind of folk that were more civil servants.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Like, or even like in the intelligence part of it, there's got to be office workers.
You know,
for the
that's an
military.
oxymoron, military intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have so much of our funding in this country going towards the military. I would hate to think that it's all just people fighting and not people strategizing how to do any of that fighting.
Well, the thing is that as much bluster and bullshit that gets spread around, we are the baddest force on the planet, without a doubt.
Everybody says that,
We
and,
are.
and I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here. Are we?
We are, without a doubt.
All right. What about Israel? Is that just an extension of our military?
They would be basically, but they would basically be like if you compared Israel to the United States military, it would be like comparing the what's your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Okay, and what's your favorite team?
The Detroit Pistons.
So it'd be like comparing the Detroit Pistons as us to a junior varsity, junior high school team.
Yeah, but like the best junior varsity high school team of all time.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you understand, we pretty much prop up Israel. I love Israel. I'm a big backer of Israel.
Yeah, but they they literally have a invisible dome around their country that swats away missiles.
Invisible dome. Nice.
Yeah, they do.
No.
Yeah, they do. They have this dome that keeps them from
What
getting.
was this given to them?
No, technology and innovation did.
I don't think so.
They do.
I would know about invisible domes.
Look it up, man.
Look it
I'm
up.
telling you.
I used to tell
America
everybody.
doesn't have shit like that. And when I think, like I know that we're in a war for reasons other than
We're in a war right now?
We're in several wars.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Where are we at
Afghanistan and Iraq, we're still there. We're fighting ISIS. We're
ISIS
fighting
is dead.
Nah, I mean,
ISIS is
just because you don't hear about them in the news anymore. They're just not the flavor of the weekend.
I don't think you're correct right now. Right now we have
We're still in Afghanistan.
well
We're still in
the
Iraq.
thing is though, we should be in Afghanistan.
We still are.
But we should be.
No,
My friend
dude,
McHugh.
It's gonna be. It's 15
I
years.
served with Michael McHugh, okay,
Who's
in
that?
1987, okay? The whole time I was there, right? He was another medic in my platoon, all right? And I was stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, and I was in the 3rd 69th Armored Battalion, headquarters company, or assigned to Charlie Company, all right?
I don't know what any of that means.
I know.
but-
Well, Charlie Company is a branch of armor. You know, M1A1 Abrams tanks when they were brand new and badass,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
They were the baddest thing going. So I would provide support, me and another medic, to that company of tanks. And we had our little bullshit M113 before the Bradley fighting vehicle was even, done, right? And they're in these, I mean, our vehicle would go like 20 miles an hour if you were lucky, and theirs is going 60. And it weighed 60 tons.
Whoa.
Whoa is right. I got to watch, went to NTC, first time I went to California, National Training Center, Fort Irwin, California. And I went to there.
Are cities named Fort something because there's army bases there, or do they get that name?
Or there was at the beginning. Or there was at the beginning.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's pretty normal through history to have.
What came first, the fort or the army base?
Well, that is the army base. That is the base.
Right.
But I'm saying if something's named
But like Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's no army base there now.
Fort Wayne would have been would have been there, not an army base. That would have been a fort, like a medieval fort, like it during, back in our history of the United States.
What about
when there was engines,
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
and the
about-
French and Indians. Don't forget the French, right? And we were fighting on the British side during the French and Indian War. Go ahead. Question?
No, I just want to build a fort and then somebody come around and be like,
Blow it up? That'd be fun.
No, be like, this is a nice fort. Let's name the city after it.
Okay, fair enough. That's nice. That's a
Yeah.
nice thought.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Maybe my daughter will go on to do that.
Do you think, like, for instance, what is your favorite city that was fortified? I have a particular one.
What's the one next to Dallas? I can't think of the name of it right now.
Fort Worth.
I like Fort Worth. Fort Worth is a cool city.
All right. Personally, my favorite fortified city, Istanbul.
But that doesn't have a
Formerly-
fort in
formerly-
front.
Formerly known as
Fartworth.
no. What was that? What was Istanbul before?
Constantinople.
I think it was
I only know that from the There Might Be Giants song.
Constantinople, and also it was known as the Byzantium.
Oh, Byzantine Empire.
I'm saying Byzantium was the city.
Okay.
And that's when the Romans, basically bailed on Rome. Been there, done that,
Yeah.
and couldn't maintain Rome anymore. But the Roman Empire continued for another 1,000 years until the Arabs came in and fucking, knocked off the Byzantine Empire. 1490 or
That was
something?
ISIS back then too.
Exactly,
That was
Sandy.
just-
Exactly.
That ISIS during the knocking off the Byzantine Empire is what I mean. It's like the Constantinople version,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my favorite fortified city.
So that was a fort.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about it. The Straits of, not Gibraltar, Straits of Bosphorus, right there. Have you ever seen pictures or been there? Have you ever been there?
No, I want to go really bad.
I would like to go there a lot too, just to see
It's not the right time to go to that
Asia,
part of the world.
Asia and Europe, right, are separated by a stretch like not that much bigger than my apartment.
Right.
Just they
Yeah.
show ships going through right there, the Straits of Bosphorus, and that was a big. That's when the Ottoman Turks fell to Russia. Peter the Great kicked their ass, right there.
But here's the thing
Yeah.
about why I question our military being the best in the world. And I know, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, but if our military is the best in the world, why the fuck is it taking so long in the Middle East? Why the fuck don't we just
What taking so long to what?
in the Middle East
To do what?
to finish that war and to
Finish it to do what? What are they supposed to do? Kill everyone?
Yeah, fuck them up, end it.
Let God sort 'em out?
Fuck the bad guys.
Kill them
No,
all? Let
no.
God sort them out?
Not all of them. Although that's what we've been doing with drone strikes and shit.
I'm not a fan of drone strikes. I feel that
Me
drone
either,
strikes
so-
are. I feel drone strikes are a very uncouth way to
Of course it is, but who's to stop? I mean, it's just more innovation.
I mean, personally, I like to see a hunter that does Rambo style. Takes his fucking knife, attaches to a
Bow
stick.
and arrow.
No, that's too far removed. I like Rambo style with the freaking. They attach the stick to the knife and then they jump out of the tree and then kill the boar hog that way. Now that to me,
Yeah, of course.
I'm saying visceral.
But that's primal. We have the technology, so who's gonna keep us from using it?
We have the technology, Sandy. So why can't we figure out with the technology how to not fucking go to war?
Because war is profitable and helps control populations. And-
really, you think?
and take land that is rich in natural resources like oil.
You know what really controls population? Disease. Like the flu after World War I wiped out way more people than all of World War I did.
Right, but that doesn't really. I mean, that wipes out a population. It doesn't really control them.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying there.
Like, think about this. Not everyone in America is at war, but our country is at war. But we are like we have to fall in line with the, like, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but we're all expected to support our troops, support our nation's cause, and it's just like you're not supposed to question whether or not we should be.
Absolutely,
in
you're supposed to
these wars.
question. You're absolutely supposed to question. That's
You're
what
not
it is to
supposed-
be a U.S. citizen.
You should always support the troops, but you should always question whether or not.
Absolutely, we are, because guess what? None of the troops, and I'm speaking as a former troop, none of us want to be wasted on some bullshit war.
Well, here's the thing. It's like they found out that Iraq didn't have the WMDs. They killed Saddam Hussein. I understand you can't just like tear up a country in combat
What
and
happened?
then leave it
And what
without trying to
happened?
rebuild it.
And then what
and
happened?
they did that, and then
what
ISIS
happened?
came and they had
Yeah.
to go back
Why did that happen?
because they
why
destabilized
I'm saying before that, why did we go into who made it that happen?
the Bush administration
Yeah, and why did old
for oil. And
no
yeah.
real
For what?
it was more of a visceral basic reason. Because Saddam had tried to kill him and his family. So it was a very personal vengeance thing.
Right, but we originally went into the region in the Gulf in the 90s for oil.
You mean the first Gulf War?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, it was because we were defending our ally Kuwait, which had been
I
overrun
think
by
that's,
Saddam.
That's
See,
like
Saddam,
that's the reason on
but
paper
no,
to
but
sell the
Saddam,
public.
that is the real reason. But Saddam was sure that it was that we were
My
okay with
thing
it.
is-
He thought we were okay with it. You got to understand. But what's your thing?
All right. We go to war for these on paper humanitarian reasons.
We never go to war for humanitarian reasons.
Exactly.
Never.
But on paper, it's sold to the American public. Oh, Iraq's doing something that they shouldn't be doing to Kuwait, or they're doing some. He's being bad to his own people, or in Vietnam, whatever
Rubber,
reason.
because we couldn't vulcanize rubber yet.
Right.
That's why we were in Vietnam.
Right.
As soon as we were vulcanizing
always
rubber,
for
as soon as we
economic
vulcanized
reasons.
rubber, we were out of there.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
always, because if it was for humanitarian reasons, we would be first looking within our own country and not killing people with lead in the water in Flint or killing
Oh,
people
yeah.
over the pipeline in North
Oh
Dakota. Or
yeah,
whatever.
hey, you preach to the choir about that stuff because I mean that's really it's a disheartening thing to witness that we, the richest country, and we are the richest country in the world still. Okay, we still are,
Not for long.
but we still are. All right, and we fail to realize the value of our citizens to the point where we let those idiots poison those people in Flint. I mean, you're from Michigan.
Yeah.
What part?
Not Flint. I'm from the suburbs of Detroit, but I'm
Well,
not
I know. Where?
Not far from
Where?
Flint.
Town? Name it.
West Bloomfield.
West Bloomfield. I knew that. I
Privilege.
lived in Livonia before
Yeah.
I moved here. Remember?
Right down the road from me.
Right
yeah.
down the road. Hell yeah. Livonia rated the second safest city in the whole state of Michigan.
Really?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Second
My
safest.
dad has an office there.
Right next to Detroit, which is with a little split of Redwood or Redford or whatever right between. Redford, right between, right? Just a couple of blocks of a town, right?
Yeah.
And there's a comedy club right there.
Joey's, it's not there anymore.
In Livonia?
Yeah.
There's not, oh.
Or so I've heard.
I never.
I haven't been there in 11 years.
I haven't been to Livonia in
I
going
just
on
heard that
7.
It's gone.
Going on
Yeah.
7 since I moved. Yeah, I was happy to move out of there, man.
Yeah, of course. Who wants to live in
In
Michigan?
Michigan.
They poison you.
Yeah,
The government, the people you're electing and trusting to make the right decisions on your behalf are fucking poison.
but see that shit. You shouldn't ever. Okay, you know what being red pilled is?
Yeah, of course.
Well, not of course. I mean, a lot of people don't know because they're fucking.
It's a reference to the Matrix of people who have woken up to conspiracy
Can you
theories.
do the-
And I don't.
Can
I
you
don't
do an impression
subscribe-
of Lawrence Fishburne doing it? Can you do it? Can you do the line? Because I can do the
I
line.
can't do the line. Go ahead.
If you take the blue pill, you will wake up in your bed tomorrow morning as if it was just a dream. But if you take the red pill, we will see how far down the rabbit hole really goes. How was
pretty
that?
good.
That was pretty good, right?
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
very much. Thank you very
I'm
much.
not like I don't consider myself red pilled, but I also,
I am a little red pilled, I feel.
I just you talk to some red pilled people, and it's just like you're too far gone for me. But I do read about that kind of stuff.
Do you like Joe Rogan?
Yeah, of course.
I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson at all?
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro?
Not Ben Shapiro.
You don't like Ben?
No, I just have not familiarized myself with. You know, I know a little bit about him. He's a pretty controversial figure.
Do you think? How come?
That's all I know about him.
Tell me what.
He's
me
like
why.
an alt-right guy, and he's a Jewish alt-right. That's as
He's
far as
not
I
an
know.
alt-right
about
guy.
him.
That's what's crazy. He's not alt-right at all.
What is he?
He is. I would say the best description would be he's fair. He looks at the issues for each on a case-by-case basis. You know.
Yeah.
He's conservative in approach, but he's not possessed of an ideologue. You know, of an ideology. That's the problem we have right now.
I just don't get how anybody, at all, any individual, could look at a politician, any one of them,
Yeah.
and just swear by them and trust them and base their identity. I don't know how anyone
So you're a
can
believer
like
in-
base their identity off of a political party, let alone a candidate.
Well, ideology, it can be a political party, but it goes further back because it's an ideology is an idea usually of a dead person,
Right, but
like Marx or
of course.
Nietzsche,
But if you have
Schopenhauer.
values as an individual, how can you just subscribe to one political platform?
I don't.
Void of what any individual. So you're just saying that every individual candidate for that party, for say the Democratic Party, straight down the line,
No, I absolutely.
the same
I
values?
believe
It's
in.
like-
I believe in John Adams. What he said that the division of the United States into political parties would eventually destroy us, and that he was our second president. And I feel that he foreshadowed and some of the shit that he did, maybe not so good, but at the end of the day, he was a true American patriot, and he foresaw the problems that were going to come. And we are in the thick of it at the moment, I think, Sandy. And the reason I'm bringing it up to you is because you are a new daddy. And
Yeah.
you want the best for your daughter,
I
right?
do. And a lot of people raise the concern like, you want to bring your daughter into this world the way it is right now? And that is a huge concern. But I think that there are moments...
Those people
they're
are
turning-
losers.
Well, it's valid. I mean,
No, it's not.
climate change is very real. Divisiveness
It always
is
happens
scary.
before.
There's violence. There's
Always been
all
violence.
kinds... Right.
Always been divisiveness.
But there's also...
a lot of
There's
technology.
also technology and change and turning
Do
points.
you know that we are bringing a bunch of people out of abject poverty every day in the world?
The problem
Hundreds
with
of
the
thousands
news,
of people?
The problem with the mainstream media isn't necessarily that it's dishonest, and it can be at times. It can be a bias, but they don't ever cover the
depth.
progress or the. I just read an interview today with a guy who wrote the book "Lies My Teacher Told Me,"
Mhm.
John Lewin, and he's
Great
saying
book.
that history books and media never cover the things that bridge movements and stories. And those are the most important pieces of history. The little
Transitions.
transitions, yes.
Absolutely.
And those are the things we need to cover in history and learn about the most because they teach us how we got from one place to another. And knowing how we got from one place to another is how we track our progress. And having a more objective, unbiased perspective on what has happened. And that...
You know much about Carl Jung?
With a J, Carl Jung with a J.
Mhm.
A little, not much.
The shadow, your shadow, and everyone has a shadow, and your subconscious, and
Yeah.
it's important to become. So, I guess the best example.
It's important to become what?
It's important to deal with your shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Okay, so you used to watch The Simpsons? Probably not anymore, but you used to, right?
Yeah. I'll catch an episode here and there. It's still great. I don't know
I
why
think
I don't
so.
watch it consistently. But
So, in this older episode, when they're doing a flashback, and Marge goes, "It's amazing how Fox just went from being what it was to being a hardcore porn channel, right? Just
Yeah.
slowly but surely." Well, that's sort of like what I felt happened to the U.S. And the reason that I saw it so much more than maybe other people was I got back to the United States from England in 2004. And then
How long were you overseas?
4 years in England. And then I started to grow medical cannabis. And even if I was growing it somewhere legal, and it wasn't always a legal state where I grew it, I stayed to myself because the surest way to have your grow get either busted or robbed was to fucking run your mouth and have a bunch of chicks over. And I love having chicks over, okay, you know, but I'm saying, but I had to do what I had to do because I had people invest money, people give me, $30,000, rent a place, set up a grow, start doing, taking care of the plants. So I would feel it, would behoove me to respect and honor their trust and not bring a bunch of freaking random pussy over.
Right.
So I wouldn't. So I was by myself a lot. I mean, a lot. So I did this, and I did it in other states. I did it in Maryland, right? I did it in Michigan. That's why I moved to Livonia. It was the furthest east legal to grow weed.
Interesting.
When I moved there, the furthest east that you could grow medical cannabis, and I had a friend of mine down in D.C. who would get all the weed that I grew, and it was legal in D.C. even though they didn't recognize it for 12 years, right? Because District of Columbia doesn't get to really, control their own destiny.
Right.
And the thing is that I knew from experience that weed actually had a lot of good benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, they just like 2 or 3 weeks ago finally federally acknowledged CBDs.
Which is really, I think that has the most benefit out of anything. I think weed is great, but it's widestream. It's similar to alcohol in that its mainstream acceptance will open the doors to people, the wrong people, to think that it's acceptable to do every day. Same with alcohol.
Well, it is acceptable to do weed every day if you're a certain age.
I think if you're a certain age or if you're a certain personality type and you can function on it, I don't think everybody can. I think it's a lot more powerful and potent to people's detriment than anyone is willing. I think the conservative people in the world think that it's way worse than it is, but I think the people who embrace it don't give it enough credit for how
intense it can be.
Yes.
I agree. I totally concur. My biggest thing for the longest time was here you have all these kids, when I was growing up, say no to drugs. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay, so you're 14 years younger than I am, okay? I'll be 49 this month in 3 weeks. So when I was growing up, it was say no to drugs. Weed is just as bad as heroin,
right,
okay?
Right. Same with me growing up. I think that there's a whole,
was it,
2-3 generations.
Though?
No, it's not. 2-3 generations.
So what happened? What happened?
That were just completely lied. Until the internet, really.
Till the
we
internet.
were all lied to about drugs and sex and about how bad it is. But on the one hand, if you see the far end of the spectrum, there are people that completely fuck their lives up with both those things.
Absolutely. But
that's
there's
not
also
the norm.
people that fuck up their lives with a lot of other stuff too.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the thing is that the use in the 50s and the 60s by the old school people of alcohol and cigarettes, they had a very detrimental effect on their generation, their kids, who they were so uptight, and they were just like plowed drunk. I'm thinking about all the dinner parties and everything in the 50s. You see your parents all fucked up and shit, at night, and then they want to go the next day.
And the housewives are on speed.
Yeah.
And the guys are drinking all day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was the norm.
The norm. But
driving under the influence wasn't illegal in most places until like the 70s. As far as
drinking was the norm for the world up until the United States came into being. Before we were in the United States and we switched to coffee. You used to drink booze in the morning. You started off the day with an ale.
Right.
Did you know that?
coffee, yeah, I heard coffee was illegal for a long
Or
time.
tea.
Coffee and tea were illegal.
That's why the United States did. That's why the United States is
the
such
government
a. The United
wanted
States
to
is
keep
such
people
a.
drunk.
The United States is such a coffee place because of the taxation by the Brits on tea,
Right.
and that's why the United States is more coffee oriented than tea. The-
Makes sense. Boston Tea Party.
Exactly.
Everything comes down to money and sex. That's it.
I
That's
concur.
all anybody wants.
I concur. That's our basic biological drive. That's brings us back to what I was saying earlier about identity politics and the fact that they don't want to accept biology as a fact. What do you think about the gender?
I don't even want to get into that because.
What do you think about it?
so-
Just real,
I think that
you have trans friends?
yeah.
You ever
and-
had sex with a trans person?
No, I've not ever had sex with a trans person. But I'll say this: I think everybody in
That
this
you know of.
world that I know of, everybody in this world has the right to be who they want to be and express themselves however they want to express themselves and identify however they want to identify. However,
It doesn't.
you
affect
have
it.
to understand that the world at large isn't just gonna the next day be like, yep, this is how things are now. It takes time, and you have to have patience and a sense of humor about it. You can't just expect everybody to bend over backwards because you are
You can,
the
but you
23rd new gender that there
You
is.
you
I
can
mean-
expect it, but you shouldn't expect it.
You I don't think you should reasonably. You shouldn't.
Absolutely not. You're totally correct. You should not.
You should
But
be
you
patient
can.
and want to change people's minds, but we live in a world where people think that the reason society has progressed is because of white supremacy. So
Identity
given
politics.
right. So given those facts, you can't you just have to be patient and have a sense of humor. And you can't get caught up in people not recognizing something they didn't even know existed until that moment.
Yeah, no shit, man. Right? That's what I'm saying.
That's my feeling about the identity stuff.
That's
I
what
respect
was.
anyone's. If you want to identify, even transracial, transsexual, whatever it is, however you want to identify, whatever you feel the most comfortable being, you should get to be that. But then you also
As long as it
have to have a
doesn't
sense of
affect, as
humor
long as it
about
doesn't affect someone else's right to be what they are.
Right.
Okay, so you can be a transgendered person, but you can't be a transgendered person that deserves respect. Whose part of your persona is that you kill a bunch of people. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
That's
everyone
not
deserves
appropriate.
respect. I mean, unless you
No,
put people,
no,
unless you
everyone-
put people's lives. in
Everyone
danger.
does not deserve
Why? Who's
respect.
trans and killing people?
No, what I'm saying is that's a very, sophomoric example, of,
Right.
of affecting someone else's life, right? Okay, and using what you are believing in to fuck with someone else's life. Now, I'll tell you real quick, two things. Well, first, when I was talking about growing weed, the reason I wanted to mention that is I went underground to grow weed, and when I came up, shit was just fucked up. I mean, bad, right?
Where, in Michigan or here?
Everywhere. Okay, people have a very difficult time accepting that white people are not to blame for all their problems right now. Okay, that
It's funny because everybody either thinks white people are to blame for their problems or that all the others are to blame for their problems.
I think neither. I think
it is neither.
it
Every
is neither.
individual is accountable for their own problems.
for the most part. For the most part, even if it's just a grandiose, big picture kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or small.
I mean, I'm saying that other people
of course,
can affect.
other people can fuck you
For
over
instance,
or whatever.
for
but
instance, 2 weeks ago, before my accident, and if you guys don't know, I have a broken collarbone and 4 broken ribs and 4 staples in my head right now because I wrecked my bike a week ago today. I don't remember any of it. I'm missing 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right, dude. And I don't know if you had a broken rib. You have a broken rib? Dude, you don't want one. Avoid a broken rib if you can, all right? And a broken collarbone because they can't do anything for you. You just have to suffer. You just have to suffer.
And they didn't give you pain medication?
They did not. They did not. They're a very big, strict, off the opioid kick right now. You need to take that?
Isn't this, what's his name?
What?
Your buddy?
No.
Oh,
Take it. Take it. See, let's see. And we have a call. Sandy has a call.
Speaking. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Later's better.
No.
I'd love to get you guys dinner, you and your wife. Tell them to skip it. I'll get you some dinner. My treat.
What isn't available?
The cucumber and the yellow-tailed scallops are no longer available. What will Sandy do?
There's nothing else I could substitute those for? All right, I'll wait, but as soon as you can have it ready, that would be great.
That's cool.
Okay. It is what it is. I'll call you if I have to cancel in the meantime. All right. Bye.
Dude, that is so cool.
That's
That is so cool. You know why? You know why that's cool? Because, man, I was like, man, only you were going to leave. You're supposed to pick up at 9:45. Now you can't pick it up at the earliest till 10:20. I needed more time with you, bro. I needed more time. The world needs to hear what we got to say.
I guess
Really,
so, yeah.
Sandy, I'm telling you. The thing is, when I wrecked my bike and I came to in the hospital in the surgical observation unit, right? I don't remember any of it. I don't remember the accident. I don't remember before the accident. I didn't remember exactly. I don't even know where the accident happened. All I know is that I was out on my way to CVS to drop off a prescription for poop pills. All right?
Stool softeners?
Yes. And to drop off some of these shirts, some Obstreperous Eccentric shirts, right? And what happened was, I thought I got hit by a car. But what, according to witnesses, the bag that I had on the handlebars went into the freaking fork, got stuck, and I did an immediate whoosh, bah, and went over the handlebars and, yeah. So, yeah, dude, it sucked. So what I'm saying to you, think about this. You just had a little bit of unexpected, rainfall on your parade. Not too big. You're missing out some scallops and some fucking cucumbers or whatever.
They're getting them. It's just
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where is this place? What is it?
Kazunori. It's right down the street.
From here, right?
Yeah.
Killer, bro.
Yeah.
More time to talk. And let me explain to you real quick.
Well,
I gotta tell you, right? It's important that you understand this, Sandy. So when I came to, because I went underground to grow weed, and I stayed to myself. And when I went underground, it was real simple. People were respected for men for being manly and women for being womanly, right? Women that raised kids were high regard. Men that made sure that their women could stay at home if they wanted to, but were allowed if they wanted to. I mean, to go out after the kids were, sorted. They were held in high regard. It wasn't everything blaming on the white male. And then when I came up, suddenly it wasn't like that anymore.
Right.
It wasn't that way. Now, you tell me about this. Tell me your opinion of this. When I was on tour in 2004 with Widespread Panic and then The Dead, right? So I'm at a Dead show. I meet this chick, Lauren, and, we just fell head over heels, and this is right after I got back from England, and we're in the bed, and we're making out. She's playing with my junk. I'm about to start playing with her junk, and then she goes, "Just so you know, I have a really big clit." And I was like, what do I do now? And I want you to know something, Sandy. You gotta look. You can't look at that. It's surprisingly difficult to tell the difference in the dark between a large clitoris and a small penis. So what I figured is, if I put it in my mouth and nothing came out, I was all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all good. Plus, there was no balls, and there was a vagina underneath too. So I figured, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
That's cool.
it was cool.
What did she identify as?
She's a woman.
There you go.
Well, I'm saying, but my point is, to me, it would have been the height of rudeness to freak out on her and to go crazy on her.
Right.
To me, all right, it would have been the height of rudeness. It would have been impolite. I wouldn't have liked somebody to do that to me, okay? And I already was digging on her, right? Because I approached her as an individual and not as a member of a group. Is my point that I'm trying to make.
Well, what group would she be a part of? Big Clits Anonymous?
She had a big clit, bro. What's the biggest clit you ever had in your mouth?
Never.
Do it on your pinky. Do it on your pinky. Do it on your pinky. Do it on your pinky.
I've seen ones,
what's the biggest one that you've ever had in your mouth? Show it on the pinky.
You know, like nothing further than the fingernail.
The second knuckle here.
That's
when
pretty,
she was full, it was pretty big. It was like, yeah, it was pretty.
That's not like.
That's pretty big, bro.
I've seen pictures of ones that are like the size of my
pinky.
Maybe this finger, my ring finger.
Right. The second thing is, just recently, this was in 2004, 2005 with Lauren. In 2015, beginning of 2016, I met this woman, Christiana. And I met her. She was lovely. She cried a little bit more, right? Maybe, right? She was a little more emotional. Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, lovely. What had happened was 2 months before I met her, she had gotten off of her psych meds, right? That they had her on. They had her on all these freaking psych meds, right? But dude, Sandy, she was a wonderful person off of her psych meds. She was.
Off of them?
Off of them. She was wonderful. She's just a little bit more emotional, right? So her mom, who didn't know how to deal with her aunt, who didn't know how to deal with her, and all of her friends who used her for rides because she had a car, convinced her to get back on the psych meds, right? She got back on the psych meds, and she turned into the most uncaring, unfeeling robot I've ever met in my entire life, who told me that she wanted to get her tits cut off because she was actually a guy trapped in a woman's body.
Well, a lot of
body dysmorphia.
A lot of conservative or just unempathetic people think that transgender is mental illness, and I think in some small cases it is, but imagine like growing up your whole life thinking that you aren't what you are.
How about the fact that I think that the majority of them have a predisposition to be transgendered because of propaganda, because of hearing about it, because of other people saying that they want to be like this other person that they like, or they want to be on the in crowd. What percentage of people do you think is like that?
I don't know. It's a lot to go through in your life just to
grow up. Just to grow up is a lot to go through.
Yeah.
Come on. Imagine when you were freaking 14, bro. Do you remember 14?
Mm-hmm.
Was it easy on you?
I had it a little easier than most, I think.
You think?
It wasn't easy, though.
It wasn't easy.
It's rough.
It's rough for everybody at 14.
Yeah.
13, 14, you know? Sometimes a little earlier. Imagine if you throw in like an abusive parent or something like that, you know? Or you're not that smart. Say somebody's not that smart, you know? And they have to deal with, you know, going to school and they're not, you know, they just can't maintain. Or they're getting bullied.
I never got bullied, but it's how I developed my sense of humor.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm, you know.
Which I've not shown any of on this podcast. But, you know.
Well, you've shown flashes.
A little bit. This has been a very serious conversation.
Well, dude, that's what I needed from you, Sandy, because you understand that I consider you to be part of the 3%. If you take all the comics in the world, all the stand-up comics in the world, 3% of them are the best people on the planet, in my opinion. This is my opinion. 3% of them. You're in that 3%.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome, but it's just you. That's just you. 97% of them are the worst people on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They lie, they cheat, they backstab, they don't feel bad about it. They Machiavellian, they complain about other people doing it to them, and then they turn around, they don't. It's like, dude, you're a two-faced hypocrite.
Well, it's all just a lot of self-involved
Narcissism.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you never demonstrated that to me. You have been.
I have that. I just overcompensate.
You think?
Maybe. I don't think I'm really that narcissistic, but a little bit. I think you have to be a little bit to.
What do you think?
Go into show business.
What do you think narcissism means?
You're obsessed with yourself and you only care about your own agenda. But I guess I don't really have.
Everybody, dude. Yeah. That's everybody. The difference to me is narcissism, to separate it out, is that that definition you just gave, with no regard to anyone else. Like you're the only person on the planet. Like everyone else around you is a robot. Like that's how, to me, in narcissism, this really demonstrates and sets themselves apart. They have no empathy.
Right.
They only can feel their own pain. Sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists. 5% of it. You know?
A lot of that.
A lot of that in LA.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
I think a lot of it in the world at large too. I mean,
oh yeah.
Otherwise, the identity politics wouldn't be such a big thing, because I think at its core, the reason why it's so ubiquitous right now is because people can't see beyond their own experience. People can't empathize with somebody going through something different than them, and that's why all the identity politics are what they are, and it goes both ways too.
In what way?
I think that a lot of the people who live by their own identity politics are only focused on pushing their own agenda forward. And I think those people are a lot of times marginalized, and it's fair, but they get lost in that, and it becomes more of a, well, everyone who isn't what I am is
wrong.
And
the enemy.
Yes.
And whatever
instead of
happens to
us, everything in this country now is a monologue, not a dialogue. So no one's listening to each other.
They're waiting to speak.
Right.
If they even wait.
Right. They don't.
That's what I woke up to.
Yeah.
That's what I came. So I come out from, growing weed, being all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am. When I was little, we went to visit my Aunt Pearl, my great Aunt Pearl in Chicago. And she said nigger.
Jesus.
In her house. I was 6, okay? And I said, Aunt Pearl, we don't say that word. And I scolded my Aunt Pearl, who was 74 years old, okay? And she didn't say the rest of the time that we were there, okay? And she would send us money, me, my brother, and my sister. She started sending me more money because I stood up to her.
Wow. That's good.
And expressed myself, okay? Now, fast forward, I think we should encourage everyone to say nigger a lot more.
Why?
For Lenny Bruce.
I think that's the one word.
No, don't. You can't say the one word, because what's happened now is we have all these words that you can't say. Cunt, faggot. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
I have a joke about this where I say the reason why there are offensive words is because we haven't come up as a society with a good enough slur for white straight guys. Rapist is the closest one there is. And, if he's got enough money, it doesn't bother him.
What about...
There's no word you could get fired for calling a white guy.
What about ball sprinkler?
I mean, it's just funny, There's no word, there's no, term that would enrage somebody to the point that you could get the person who called you that fired from a job for calling that to a white person.
In the last month, I've had some shit happen to me down here, right? I live downtown in Skid Row area, okay? I live right across from the Skid Row police station. And I was, about a month ago, I was riding my bike on Olympic, okay? I was headed to the dispensary at Hill and 12th, Shiva's best dispensary I've ever been to. Check it out. Ask for Michelle. So I go there. I'm on my way there. As I'm riding my bike, I'm in a hurry. This black guy with like orange or purple hair or whatever, he's jaywalking across Olympic. Now, this is a big road, big, right? Big highway, right? Olympic, right? Going, right? And he's jaywalking. And right as I'm going by him on my bike, he jumps back. I would do it, but my whole right side of my body is in pain. Right. And he wound up hitting me. And I was like, if he just yelled trying to scare me, I would have blown it off, right? No big deal. But he actually put his hands on me, right, and almost wrecked my bike. It was like foreshadowing for what happened last Tuesday. So I circled back around and went. He immediately claimed that I'd called him a nigger. I had not said a damn thing to him. This fucking little white cuck guy comes up, immediately takes his side. So you know what I did? I bitch slapped the little white cuck guy. Yeah. Because I'll be damned if I'm going to, like, give up my right as a U.S. citizen to defend myself.
Yeah, I do think due process in those situations is lost. But I think that I understand the argument of saying something and killing its power, but I do think it's not for two white guys in a studio bathroom to decide whether or not the N-word should be used more often or not.
Oh, no. I know.
And
it's okay that you feel that way.
Have been marginalized more, well, depending on how the family separation thing goes. We'll see, but I think that through slavery and racism, black people have been marginalized more than any other person in this country.
Mistaken. You know what really fucked them up?
What?
The Civil Rights Movement. Before the Civil Rights Movement, they had like a 21% single-parent household. They have like 73+% single parent household now. Single parent. Why is that bad? What does a father do?
A lot.
Yeah, but what's the most important thing?
Role model.
Yeah, but what's the most important thing that without a father a child has a very difficult time developing? I'll give you a hint.
Self-confidence, self-esteem.
You're all along
respect.
It requires a father, and it requires free play in nature for this to develop. Free play in nature and a father.
What?
Empathy. Without a father, it's just very difficult to develop empathy. And without empathy, it makes it so that you can't relate to the other person and feel it's important. So after this happened, 2 weeks ago, I'm riding my bike 2 blocks west of here on Spring Street. I'm Road 6th, left on Spring, right in front of the Starbucks, and I saw 2 drunk people in front of me. 2 black guys, no big deal. As I'm almost to them, one of them stumbles in front of me. I had to slam on the brakes on my bike so I didn't hit him. I look at the other guy. Half of his face is all swolled up. Like he just got his ass kicked, hit by a bat or something, right? I have a lot of empathy, Sandy. I was concerned. I said, dude, are you all right? He fucking was drunk, so he mouthed off to me. And while he was doing that, I just blew him off. The other guy pulled a 9mm automatic and pointed it at my stomach. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He goes, no, cracker, I ain't kidding you. And I rode away thinking, I'm going to get fucking shot in the back right now for nothing, for just riding my bike. So what would you have done in that situation as far as the gun?
I don't know. Just try to talk my way out of it, or
I'd already was riding away. After you rode away like I did, what would you have done? It was no use to be funny because these guys were so fucking drunk they couldn't even stand up, and one of them was beat the shit out of him.
I would just ride the fuck away as fast as I could.
So I called the police. It took 3 times calling 911 before I finally made them understand, and they eventually showed up. These guys were so drunk, they were still there in front of Joe's Pizza.
In Hollywood?
No, right here, 6th and Spring. Shit. And here they show up. Here these guys are drunk. One of them is so drunk, and he has a 9mm. And they took the gun off the guy, okay? And the cops showed me the gun. Is this the gun? I was like, that's the gun. It was fully loaded, and there was one in the chamber, okay? So just the guy dropping it could have gone off.
Right.
So here are the cops, and they didn't shoot him. They just arrested him, and they didn't arrest him. And they didn't. Good is right, and they didn't arrest the guy that was beat up, okay? But the crowd started yelling at the police, and the police were doing their job in a very dangerous job at that point, and they were doing it professionally, and they didn't even shoot the guy.
Right.
They didn't even do the cocking, the cock sound, of the shotgun or anything, right? And these people are yelling at the cops, and I lost it. I started yelling at the people.
Well, that's the problem with identity politics. It's an identity over a group of people where everything should just be judged on an individual basis.
Everything should be judged on an individual basis.
But that's the problem with racism too. That's the why you shouldn't be racist.
That's
or
what
sexist
racism
or whatever.
is.
Not everybody is one thing. Not all women or all men are one
dude,
thing.
exactly.
Every individual person
Needs to
different.
be
That's why not
treated as an individual.
Everyone that lives in fucking West Virginia or Kentucky isn't all like a uneducated redneck that voted for Trump. Everyone is an different individual.
Exactly, Sandy. Exactly. That's the great thing. And people have lost track of that. And that was the reason that I believe that about what I said earlier. And like Lenny Bruce said, he did a whole bit about it. Did you see Dustin Hoffman and Lenny Bruce?
I've never seen that, no.
Dude, you got to check it out. You got to check that movie out.
I will.
Really. I mean, it's a powerful force. I didn't understand it until I came back into society from being sequestered, growing weed, right? Mm-hmm. Then I understood what he meant, because that word has become a talisman, okay? A power word that doesn't deserve. That word does not deserve the power that it's given. You know Leslie Jones?
Yeah, of course.
So I took the only comedy class that she taught with Eric Marino, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason I took the class was definitely not because of Eric Marino, but because of Leslie Jones. And how funny do you think Leslie is?
She's one of the funniest people alive.
She's one of the funniest. Sandy, thank you for saying that. I feel that Leslie is the funniest person I've ever seen live, ever. And I say this based on the fact that in the original room, the back part of the original room, I don't know if it's different now because they remodeled, but there was that one chair that you couldn't see the stage, but you could hear and you could sit down, right? I would have to sit there to witness Leslie's shows, because if I sat where I could listen and hear her, I would cramp every time from laughing.
Yeah.
That's how funny she is.
Yeah, she's one of the best.
In my book, the best, okay? Bar none. Never seen Richard Pryor perform live, never seen Eddie Murphy perform live, but I've seen a lot of the other ones, Mm-hmm. So here's Leslie. The first task they gave us in the class was write 50 jokes about something you hate and 50 jokes about something you love. Right? So I went home, and then I performed, and I said, I love the word nigger. It rhymes with trigger and rigor and tigger. It's just a powerful word. It goes at the end. I just love it. But I hate getting my ass kicked every time I tell that joke. She fucking busted out laughing. Okay? She loved that joke. And it just sealed us as being good buddies from then until Marino fucked it all up. So,
Yeah, that's cool. She gets it though. I don't know. I don't think most people are willing to give you the. I don't think most people are willing to give anyone the chance. It's such a trigger word.
Exactly. Trigger. See, that's another thing it rhymes with.
But it's something that, it's something that gives white people power over black people, and I do think that should be done away with. But I do think it's up to black people to decide whether or not it's their word. It's their word. And until there is that word for that is as offensive to white people, that'll level the playing field, and no words will be that offensive.
Well, did you ever think that there'll never be a word that'll be that offensive to white people because
Yeah,
we
I
have
don't
more
think there will be.
equanimity?
Yeah,
Because we have more equanimity.
I do think that.
Well, I'm saying I don't think it's fair what has happened to the African Americans in our country because of the fact that identity politics and Lyndon Johnson and the civil rights movement has caused a total just a disaster in their community. I mean, I feel really bad. I mean, go ahead.
Well, hopefully this new civil rights movement will help change that.
What's the new civil rights movement?
You know, like Black Lives Matter and all that.
You're joking, right? That was a good one. That was a good joke.
I don't know, man. I think that
No lives matter. We are matter.
No, I do agree. No lives matter, but
We are matter.
I do think that you know, things could get better. I want things to get better, and this is just a weird
Better
time.
in what way?
People to love and respect each other and treat each other well.
Kindness.
And,
Lessen the suffering,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
I was having
Come together, help each other.
I was having a tough time last year, okay? My shadow came out a little bit, right? Jordan B. Peterson helped me to get through that, to proceed apace, and to gather my strength in the areas that were weak and to strengthen the ones that are already strong and to make me grow up and not worry so much about what other motherfuckers think.
I think that's a great thing to think and feel, and it's good. It's a good sentiment to go out on, really.
Oh, you want to
Yeah.
wind up right now?
Yeah,
Did I upset you with my jokes?
No, you didn't. I think that you can listen to things rationally at a distance. I'm not offended by the way anyone thinks or feels as long as it's not directly harmful or intended to cause harm. I think we got to hear people out. We got to listen and not just wait to speak, like you said.
Yeah, man. Because I've been listening to you. I hope you've been.
Yeah, I've been listening.
And you've been funny. I mean, you've been funny. Just dude,
We're having an interesting conversation. I think that trumps any sort of humor, you know.
Yeah, but it's still there. It's still there when you're in the, Sandy, and I hope you realize that Sandy Danto here. He has been one of my staunchest supporters. I don't know if you know this. He has participated. You did shows, at least 2 shows here at the Star.
Yeah.
He did 2 shows at the Star when I was doing comedy shows here. He did at least 1 proof of concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we did the nitrous, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And always has been there to listen to me, and I appreciate that a lot because that's what I mean about the 3%. Because you are the real deal.
Thanks, man.
You're all that, a bag of chips,
Thank you. You too.
the dip, and the party to go with it, bro.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you. So, where are you available for people to?
My podcast, Motherfuckers, a parenting podcast.
When's that?
That's it comes out every Sunday night.
Is it a live stream?
It's just episodic podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. And at Sandy Danto on social media.
At Sandy Danto for like Twitter,
Instagram, Twitter,
all those.
Yeah.
Okay. I really appreciate you coming and being on episode 2 of Obstreperous Eccentric, comics only.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy your shirts. I hope your woman enjoy your shirts.
She will.
And I'm gonna have like a baby bonnet or something made up.
All right, cool.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Thank you.
I want you guys to really. Sandy already should be famous as hell. Okay. That's how funny you are, bro.
Thank you.
From the heart.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know.
Yeah, I know. I should be.
Hell yeah, he should be. And
I
that's not
fucking
narcissism. That's just freaking blatant talent, okay? So with that, I'm going to go over to stop the stream, but keep talking for a second, okay?
Cool.
And tell them anything you want to tell them.
Listen to each other, love each other, and everyone should just do acid. There was a guy that got arrested for trying to put acid in the water supply in LA. Oh,
When
man.
was this?
A couple days ago. That would
No, really?
That would have been great.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Google it. It's
I'm gonna Google that. Sandy, thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Hey, Sandy.
Yeah.
You come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Figure it out.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah, I gotta run.
I